We've all seen those multi-million-dollar paychecks that those big celebrities make for acting, but I always wondered, what do regular actors get paid when they get cast in a production? Well, I found out firsthand when in 2021 I went from a complete beginner actor to being cast as number 2 in Stranger Things 4. And today I'm gonna end all the Hollywood gatekeeping and give you a complete breakdown into what Netflix paid me for acting in 5 episodes of this world famous show. This video will have 4 parts to it. Extra costs to Netflix, so what they paid for me but didn't go necessarily to me. Bonus payments I got for things you wouldn't expect. My main base pay, and then finally what actually went to my bank account after all of the taxes and fees. So to start off with extra costs, I submitted my audition tape online because I live in Texas while this filmed in Atlanta, and they then paid to fly me out. But not only that, they paid for a personal driver to pick me up to and from my house and take me to and from the airport. In total, that would have cost about $700 both ways. Then the driver drops you off at this hotel that you're staying at during the shoot, and then you have to pay the incidental fees out of your own wallet, which you wouldn't expect. But it does get refunded to you as long as you don't break anything. But that actually wiped out my entire savings on my first day to the point I couldn't afford to even buy food for a little bit. Very humbling. It's good to have a humbling experience in that. The hotel, the Georgian Terrace, was very luxurious, more like a 1-bedroom apartment. And if you were to base it off of today's prices, Netflix would have paid $7,561 to host me there for the 6 weeks that I was in town. So there already, Netflix has paid $8,261 to just have me in the show. But obviously none of this money has gone to me yet. But before we talk about my main base pay, I think it's so interesting to mention all of the surprise bonus payments you get paid for being in this show that no one really tells you about. After looking through all of these receipts, I was actually paid for travel time. I was personally paid $150 an hour for every time I just sat in the car driving to and from set. And in total, I was paid $2,485 into my bank account for just that alone. Now, why did I get paid just for sitting in a car? Well, before I answer that, remember how I said I couldn't afford food initially? Well, that all changed whenever I got paid my first per diem. A per diem is just extra payment that you get to cover all of your living costs while filming. On Stranger Things, I was getting paid $60 every day to pay for my food. If you're looking through all of these receipts, you would see that in total I was paid $2,580 through my 6 weeks of filming, basically just to cover the cost of food, which is crazy because they also give you free meals and food on set. So why are they giving me $60 a day to spend on food when they're just giving me free food anyway? And why am I getting paid so much to just sit in a car? All of these bonus payments are because of the unions. Actors are considered skilled workers, and so having us in a car means we're under the production's control, and the time is not our own. Unions force productions to recognize this, and it also forces efficiency. By making productions pay for travel time, it means they can't just book this cheap hotel really far away from the set, and they're not incentivized to waste our time with long hours of unpaid travel. The food payments, those are completely separate protections. Productions provide free on-set meals to ensure that cast and crew are properly fed through long filming days. Per diem payments, on the other hand, cover offset meals and personal expenses, compensating actors for the costs and inconveniences of living away from home. To be honest, a lot of the time I didn't spend my per diem on food because I filled up on on-set food, but the per diem is considered additional compensation for the disruption that it causes on your life for being completely across the country during this temporary period for this production. And the bonus payments did not stop there, because after we wrapped, I got several other bonus payments as well. For starters, I actually found out I was paid extra for all of my flashback scenes. Basically, there were 2 scenes I filmed in episode 7 of the show, but what I didn't know is they were gonna take 2 shots from those scenes and put them in episode 1 and 3. So I learned you not only get paid for the actual work of filming the scene, but you also get paid every additional time they use that footage. So if they were to reuse any of my season 4 scenes in season 5, for example, I would also get paid for that. And in total, I made an extra $3,944 just for the flashback scenes. And on top of that, to my surprise and delight, before the strikes even, they did still pay for residual bonus payments based on the show's performance and success. I already made a whole video kind of explaining why I received these residuals even before the strikes. But basically, as long as people keep watching the show, every few months Netflix will send me these bonus checks with some extra money for each episode. These bonus payments are actually still ongoing, but at least so far I've made an additional $12,666 just over the last 3 years in residual payments since the show is released. So that means in total, Netflix paid me an extra $21,675 just in all of these bonus payments that I wasn't initially expecting. And then you combine that with the extra costs of flights and hotels I mentioned earlier, and so far, Netflix has paid $29,936 just to have me in the show. But we've still not even gotten to my main base pay yet, so we'll finally dive into all of that now. To go through it all in ascending order, I was personally paid $2,287 for a reshoot. It was this 30-second scene that they forgot to film when I was originally in town. So they paid to fly me back out again a month later to do a partial day of work. I was personally paid $4,700 just in overtime because of how many days I was filming on set for over 12 hours. And the interesting thing about my big base pay is that all of the other main numbers, the people that were in my bully beatdown gang, they all earned basically the exact same as me, even though technically I had a bigger part. Again, this is because of the union. If you have a main speaking role like this, even if it's just a couple of lines, unions force productions to pay those actors fairly. And for most people, being in a show like this is an exceptional and well-earned opportunity. And even though they might not have a lot of coverage, they still deserve to get fairly compensated, especially once you consider all of these taxes and fees that we're about to get into shortly, which makes all of this a lot less glamorous. But my main base pay that I got for Stranger Things was $30,000 for 6 weeks of work. Damn! Meaning, in total, Netflix paid me $36,987 in base pay to actually act and perform my scenes in the show. But if we add all of this now together, we see that means Netflix paid $66,923 just to have me in the show. Quite staggering when you consider all of the other actors and crew members they're also paying. Obviously, I didn't get to keep all of that myself. This is where we're gonna get into the less glamorous side of the industry. Now we're gonna break down how much I actually lost of that money to taxes and fees. Now, of course, extra costs for flights and hotel immediately dropped, not going to be. So that brings us down to $58,662 that was actually paid to me for my role in the project. But of that, I paid roughly $15,639 just in taxes. And then, of course, we have to account for my agency fee. To even get an audition for a show like this, you need to be represented by an agent. And this is just how Netflix filters through actors. Whenever you join these agencies, the only way they make money is whenever you book a job, they automatically get at least 10% of your net pay. So I also lost an additional $4,430 that had to be paid to my agency. Meaning, at the end of the day, for about 6 weeks of work across 5 episodes, I actually got to keep in my bank account $38,593. which I'm already so grateful for, like amazing. But interestingly, that number could have also almost doubled if I had filmed Stranger Things just 2 years later after the 2023 SAG strikes. I likely would have had an additional bonus payment of anywhere between $10,000 to $100,000 based on the show's massive success. I'll just have to wait until the next time I'm on a huge breakout Netflix show to make that type of money. Now, I'm going to use my psychic powers to force you to subscribe. And if you want to learn more about how I booked my most recent project of Law & Order SVU, check out this video right up there. You shouldn't be wandering around this YouTube channel unattended. Join this community, or I'll make sure Papa electrocutes you way worse than he electrocuted me. Because yes, Matthew Modine does watch this channel. No, I'm kidding.